Welcome back to the show, everybody. The countdown is on. 2 days away from spot Bitcoin ETFs. Will the SEC rug pull? We got information to look at. The other side of the equation here, it's XRP. And what about this? Could there be a burn of XRP by Ripple? David Schwartz responds. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, it is $1.74 trillion for the market cap of cryptocurrency. The market is up 0.2%, 44,800 plus for Bitcoin, 2,200 plus for Ethereum right now, 93.5 billion market cap for Tether, and XRP at the number 6 spot at 56 cents, off by 1% in the 24-hour, off by 9.3 on the 7-day. Range of price very quickly here, if I could. It is 54 to 57 cents. We're right smack dab in the middle. We'll keep an eye on it. Let me tell you about this right now, because this is so super important to let you know. It's XRP Las Vegas, and it's coming in 115 days. And I'm going to tell you, there's so many opportunities inside of this. Look, there is the conference itself, which is going to have incredible people, and there are more coming on board all the time. Quincy Jones, Jay Cambo from Spend the Bits, John Deaton. We're going to have so many people. You know Sologenic's going to be there. And we know Perry Ann Boring from the Chamber of Digital Commerce. David Schwartz, the CTO of Ripple, on stage. Eleanor Terrett. Like I said, John Deaton. We're going to have Jeremy Hogan, virtual appearance. Honorable Christian Carlo. The list goes on, and I'm telling you, there are more coming. But I tell you what, there are only going to be so many tickets. And I can tell you right now that the VIP ticket is getting close to selling out. Be very careful. If that's what you wanted, that's the one that's selling heavily right now. And there is a limited seating for all of this, but even less for VIP. So if you're getting a VIP ticket, I suggest you get that ticket before it runs out. Then the general admission tickets are still available for now. But again, this event will sell out before we get to the actual date of the conference. So don't mess around. Get your tickets today. Let's get started right here. Let's talk about this. Now, I covered this and I looked for a little help. This was the actual tweet I put out yesterday. I said, hello, XRP, ETP, Fidelity. And we know some of these things have been around for a few years, sitting and waiting. And that was the whole point of the question mark behind Fidelity. Like, okay, is it real this time? Because we're waiting to see the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. Could obviously Ethereum and XRP and other tokens be next? Was the question, but I didn't put it that way on the thing. So my goodness, boy, crypto Twitter is just loaded with trolls. That's all I can say. But one has to wonder if this now is the window, knowing that we're 2 days away from possibly seeing a sweeping approval of Bitcoin ETFs. We're going to keep an eye on it. And don't forget, this is a staged moment here from Elizabeth Warren when she tees it up for Jamie Dimon to say, if I was the government,
tax avoidance. That is a use case because it is somewhat anonymous, not fully, and because you can move money instantaneously, and because it doesn't go through, as you mentioned, all these systems have been built up over many years, know your customers, sanctions, OFAC, they can get bypass all of that. If I was the government, I'd close it down.
Well, what would you do about the fact that JP Morgan's been caught manipulating the U.S. Treasuries market and the silver market to the tune of millions and billions of dollars? What would you do about that, Jamie? Does that bother you at all? Just curious. Doesn't seem to bother Elizabeth Warren. Now, the SEC, timely enough. Now, listen to this, though. This article stuck out to me. Reissues crypto FOMO warning amid the hope for spot Bitcoin ETFs. Now, some would say on the surface, well, this is a way to tamp down the heightened anticipation over the spot Bitcoin ETF approval. But the timing of it is what we need to watch out for here, right? So the SEC puts out this warning. It says no go to FOMO, fear of missing out. Just because others might buy a particular investment doesn't mean it's the right opportunity for you, right? That's basically the gist of it here. But what is interesting about this is that this was something that was also done back around the all-time highs of November 2021. And the warning was issued again around March of 2022 when the markets were cooling. So, no, I mean, you know, we can't know if this is a market indicator, but the point is, we've asked the question multiple times. Listen, and I'm someone who has great exposure to Bitcoin at the moment because I am anticipating sweeping approval of the applications for spot Bitcoin ETFs. So if it doesn't go, I'm going to be in trouble too on some of it, right? I'm going to take a hit, as they say. But we have to wonder if some of that price is built in already on the short end, on the immediate side. We'll get to more of that in a minute. We're going to look at a Bitcoin chart where that asks the same question as well. This right here from Eleanor Tarrant, shout out to Ellie for this. Grayscale has just filed its completed S3, setting its fee at 1.5%, which you can find from the link. I went down and found that too, at 1.5% right here, as you can see. Just highlight that. My clicker not working here. There it is right there. You can see it. But everyone's lowering their fees. And this is about the competition. Eric Bokunis right here. But wait, ARK just dropped their fee to 0.25% in an S1 filing 20 minutes ago after BlackRock's. Told you the fee war would break out before they even launched. And this is without Vanguard on the mix. Damn. Yeah, this is where it is. Everybody's trying to attract as many investors to their fund as possible. Now look at this, because this is the submission line for 8 a.m. this morning, right, which was just an hour ago. We're now past that official submission deadline of 8 a.m. All issuers, aside from Hashdex, have submitted their updated S1s, S3 in Grayscale's case. So unless there's a last-minute filing from them today, these are the issuers that have handed in all their homework and would, in theory, be ready to launch this week. Grayscale, ARK 21 shares, BlackRock, Bitwise, VanEck, WisdomTree, Invesco, Fidelity, Valkyrie, Franklin Templeton. That is one incredible list if we see a sweeping approval right there. But again, we're going to look at some information here. And then this is a great reminder here from Meta Lawman. Shout out to you, James. Will we see Bitcoin ETF sponsors like BlackRock buy Bitcoin mining companies once they discover that they can't buy large blocks of Bitcoin on exchanges without incurring significant slippage? Would Lena Khan permit that kind of vertical integration? Well, we know that BlackRock is a shareholder in 4 of the 5 largest Bitcoin miners. So I think I'm leaning in, as Meta Lawman is here. I'm leaning in. But let's take a look at this chart here, because it's important we understand that there may be a moment, just like an IPO, where you see a huge wall, the price pushes up, and then a huge wall of sell-off that takes place because of the holders that want to take profits as it begins to hit the market. We'll see, but attention to all bulls, says Agrad Crypto, unveiling the Fibonacci 0.702. If we're eyeing cycle B, bull run, he says brace for a potential pullback to the 32,000 zone. It's a 30% retracement. Well, within the norm of a bull run correction, let's plunge into these fascinating cycles very quickly here. The 0.702 rejection spent 4 months vacillating between the 0.5 and 0.702. Then 2013 marked the explosive breakthrough at Fibonacci 0.702. Cycle B, you could see there was a 2 months rejection and then followed by 2 months hitting the 0.5 with a scary 40% pullback. Few sees the dip, and it says, but guess what? The 5th month, boom, Bitcoin surged from the 702. A fierce push, the Fibonacci 702, but 3 months of rejection. For 5 months, Bitcoin wandered around at the 0.5. Then March 20, the flash crash. It took 5 months to reclaim the 0.702 and soar again. So you can see how important the 702 is on the Fibonacci to Bitcoin. 1. On the cycle E, supernova narrative could lead to a cycle A-like explosion in January or February with Bitcoin spot ETFs. 2, crash to 32,000 could set a bull hornet pattern like cycle B. Expect a 2 months down, 3 months up, and a high. And 3, an 8-month decline touching Fibonacci 0.5 followed by a crash, then 7 months to conquer the 0.702, possibly until March, April 2024. Buckle up, bulls. Either way you look at it, long or short, the chart is looking like you're at a pivotal moment where you're going to see some kind of motion, whether it be a 4-month delay, 2-month, 5-month delay. Something's coming is what the charts are saying here. And the question is, once again, patience. Speaking of patience, let's change gears from Bitcoin to spot ETFs. And let's get to this conversation right now, which is really about burning XRP in the larger part of the conversation here and what Ripple does with the XRP. So Mr. Hubert posted this a while back, says, there you have it. Ripple net sales of XRP amounted to almost 238 million XRP in December. That's $142 million. That's 3 times the average monthly sales. One can assume that Ripple will soon be buying massively. Otherwise, I would be worried because they have never, and he goes on to say here, very quickly here, because they have never been more than 8 to 10 weeks without a single net buyback data from Ripple themselves. And this is the data right here. Now, what's interesting about this, too, is that, I've covered the fact that, if there was ever going to be a buyback, it would be Ripple, because Ripple is the ones actually doing the buyback, right? They've talked about this quarter after quarter after quarter for a few years now, that Ripple, in fact, buys XRP back on the market and then releases it to on-demand liquidity partners, right? So carrying this conversation a step further, Mr. Hubert comes back in on his own tweet and says, good grief, it's not like Ripple isn't sticking it in everyone's face for years. The only company that literally provides an API where you can track their sales, read less riddles and get informed better, and maybe invest in something where these things are not made transparent. And I think there's a little tongue-in-cheek there, I would hope. But nevertheless, GDP Burn the Escrow says, I love your content, and I've been following for a long time. I think it's great that you're honest and sincere in what you publish, but we have to agree that Ripple's core business at the moment is actually dumping, ? They couldn't resist without it. Am I right, ? David Schwartz comes in and says, Ripple has 2 choices. We can continue to hold as much XRP as we do, or we can reduce the amount of XRP that we hold. There really isn't any third option. Ripple's original plan was to reduce our XRP holdings as quickly as we could. GDP Burn the Escrow says, first of all, thank you very much for the reply, is the burning the escrow not an option? David Schwartz says, I can't think of any set of events that would lead that to happen that's even remotely probable. I also don't think it would have any real benefits. I don't either. And just to speak to the escrow, this is not the first time we've heard about people thinking, well, they should just burn the escrow so the price go up. But it's the greatest asset that Ripple has. Pre-mined tokens. They have a bank account full of XRP, which is worth a lot of money. Why would you ever get rid of it? It is the powerful tool that others don't have trying to compete with you. If you had a lot of money in the bank and someone told you to just get rid of it, what would you think of that idea? How would you pay your bills? How would you budget? How would you expand your business? Then he says here, David, may I ask you, basically here, he says, may I ask a question? Why is Ripple actually only withdrawing 200 million XRP per month? Secured by the escrow would be a much larger maximum of 1 billion. As far as I understand it, Ripple voluntarily sends back 800 million based on the monthly volume, but Ripple could change that at any time without restriction. Is that correct? He said, I'd love to share what I think my analysis is, but I won't for two reasons. One, I'm probably wrong anyway. Everyone probably is. Two, lawyers tell me not to talk about factors that might affect future prices, so you'll have to use your own imagination. Again, you know, he says here, I will say two things I believe before digital currencies even existed that I think stood the test of time. One, prices are mostly rational. Everything expected is already baked into the price. Any radical change that isn't obviously good will be treated as bad by the market. No doubt about that. So, you know, look, at the end of the day here, I think this is all a great conversation, but I also firmly believe that having the escrow is one of the greatest assets that you could ever have. And when you see Ripple buying back and distributing XRP to certain players that are participants in the Ripple payment system, formerly ODL, what I see is the exercised actions of a good steward. I see Ripple acting as a lender of last resort, as a new emerging central bank, except their money isn't dollars, it's XRP. I hope you join us in the Freedom Zone, ladies and gentlemen, because today we are taking on the hard truths of the pandemic and the many things that went along with it. And you're going to hear from a scientist today in the Freedom Zone who is absolutely no joke. And he's going to tell you about the greatest perpetrated fraud on mankind. I'm telling you, you have to hear this guy talk. And we know that freedom of speech does not exist on social media, which is why we have the Freedom Zone, because it does inside of there. I hope you will join us like so many others. The conversation is pretty remarkable in here. You're not going to be sorry you did. You can join for almost next to nothing and really get a part of the real conversations that are happening inside of here. And we can do it without worry of being censored. That's the most beautiful part. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one.